This show garden, designed by Terry Moller, really does showcase the simplicity of a formal garden. It's very traditional, with a central raised garden bed, and around it, Astro, fake lawn, but it works. You know, if you've got a small area, why not look for options that are much easier to use? What impressed me the most is that the back wall, which could have been incredibly boring, has been pimped up by the use of interplaced, very specifically, hanging baskets. And what works for me is that the distance apart from each other is exactly the same, so your eye is guided to them. The central garden bed, which is raised, adds a whole lot of interest, of course, because there's a gorgeous water feature in the center. But not only that, the practical aspects of this is that it makes gardening easier. You're not on your hands and knees, it lifts the space up towards you, and the plants really are inviting you towards them to enjoy them. The central axis, which is that main water feature, it's the beautiful focal point, nice and simple and great for the birds. I particularly like the planting in the garden bed. Why? Because it's not formal. It's not a single hedge or a single row of plants. A beautiful mixture has been used of semi-shaded plants. So what have we got in there? We've got the leatherleaf fern. Man, it looks fantastic. That fern is also known as the 7-day fern, because if you pick it, put it into a vase, it will last beyond 7 days, sometimes 2 to 3 weeks at least. That, working with the little cyclamens, which are popped in between, which are traditionally known as an indoor plant, actually work beautifully in this setting. And in amongst it, a bit of alyssum for some pops of color, and that of course is the annual color that you would simply replace. But for me, what was the quintessential part of this garden that I fell in love with was the wall plaque just to the right, just above the seated area. It's a frame, a simple wooden frame with some mesh in it and planted up with sexy succulents. And doesn't that make for awesome wall art? Nothing plain and simple about this, except it actually is. It's a dead giveaway secret. Loads of little succulents popped into a frame, and man, you look like Leonardo da Vinci hung out in this garden. When it comes to staking your plants, there are a couple of things that you should always have in your potting shed as your gardening kind of gadgets and gizmos, propping you up, as we'd call it. So let's take a look at what they are. Number one, always have a few dowels. Dowels just work so perfectly. I much prefer wooden dowels to the metal stakes. The metal stakes, if you don't tie the plant up properly, can rub, can scrape, can damage the bark. Plus, they also get hot during the heat of the day and can sometimes also burn the plant. So, you know, good old wooden droppers are always best. You can even get thicker ones, which are almost fence droppers. So those work nicely, and I love having those. Also, what do you use to tie it on? Now, whatever you do, you don't use ordinary wire. Ordinary wire is going to damage the plant. It's going to cause the plant to snap off and damage all your cambium. That's not a good idea. So there are a couple of things. There's string options, okay? So these work really nicely. I like using either this brown one or the green one, because then you don't see them. It's not like you want to shout out, hey, look at me, I'm tied up to a pole. No, you don't want that. So avoid the white if you can. So rather go with the more natural colors. What also is a winner in my potting shed is this over here. So this is wire. It's about a 3mm wire, but it's coated with plastic. And it's incredibly smooth, really velvet-like. And this works perfectly for going around plants, doesn't damage, and even if there is a bit of rub, because it's plastic coated, it's not going to do any harm. But then, you know, for little jobs, like, you know, you've got a little sweet pea or something that you've got to tie up, you can also get these guys. So they almost look like a little jiffy bag that you get them when you're packing your kids' lunch. These work brilliantly, just simply around the plant, couple of twists onto the stake, and Bob's your uncle. And of course, one of the best ways to tie up creepers up against a wall, because I'm asked about this all the time, is to get something like this. These little guys, you get the nail with it, you see, nice and easy. You pop the nail in, smack it into the wall, and then you can take this over here and you can then hook it through like that. And there you've got where your plant will be able to grow through. Nice and easy. And then probably the most faithful way, which I'm sure every woman has, is a pair of stockings. Guys, stockings are incredible. As long as you're using anything coated, and if you don't have and you've got something bigger that you want to strap to a tree, you've got a beautiful staghorn, or you've got a plant that really needs major support, just get some pantyhose. They work beautifully. They stretch as the tree is growing, and that solves the problem. So there's my gardening arsenal of staking plants and tying them up and making sure that they're not damaged in the process.